Hi everyone, my name's Josh Wentz and I'm a product manager at Lucid, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about our portfolio from the building perspective. And before I do that, why I think we do what we do is because all of us working on BuildingOS, we deeply care about buildings. And without that, we wouldn't have been able to take the very physical buildings that we live in, this physical building that we live in here, and turn that into the virtual world. So we've made great strides over this past year when it comes to real estate and portfolio management, and we're going to dive into that. But before doing that, I wanted to zoom out to show you really what a portfolio could be. Each pin representing a building or several buildings, whether it be a city for a national view, a global view of a corporation, or more locally with a university. This is what was traditionally a portfolio, but it's really tough to take this real-world scenario and make it actionable. And what we've done within this past year is we've taken this portfolio view and we've encapsulated it into what is a portfolio dashboard. And this is your dashboard to make of it however you'd like, and you can turn this into a series of cards that we'll talk about a little bit later, so you can make this yours. Each of these portfolio dashboards then have a certain application set behind them. We've talked a lot about data today, but data isn't really useful without a certain application layer above that. And we focused a lot of time throughout this past year working on a series of applications. The two that I want to touch on were made possible because of a new bill data set, utility bill data set, which we started to bring on in 2015 of last year. We talked about a lot of metering data sets, but because of this new bill data set, we're able to create a customized budgeting application, which we've worked very closely with customers, biotech company in South San Francisco, a university, and also getting into the retail space. So we've tried to triangulate the uses of all of these different budgeting scenarios like Will was referencing earlier when it comes to dissecting spreadsheets. So we've dissected those and we've created this expertise that traditionally sits within one person's mind, and we brought that up to the web so anybody can budget their building energy very easily. Traditionally, it's been very time consuming, but you can create a building energy budget in a matter of seconds inside of BuildingOS. On the right side, you can see bill verification, and what that does, the problem here that many new buildings that are coming online are dealing with is that they have metered data and then they have bill data, and those are two separate streams. But what bill verification does is it brings those worlds together so you can compare a metered on-site meter with a utility bill. And that was only possible because a shout out to a developer in the back, Brian, came on board. And this was one of our most challenging applications to turn around because of the complexity of metered and billed data, which makes it very simple for anybody to jump on and compare the two of those. From here, I want to zoom back out to our portfolio view. And the user experience of taking a portfolio and digging down into a building is something we've put a lot of time and thought into. So this is your portfolio view, but if we want to zoom in to one specific building, so we'll zoom in throughout here to San Francisco, and then we'll zoom a little bit more into Mountain View. And then if we want to look into that one building and Mountain View, you can click on that pin. But this pin represents much more than a location. It's a building that has a certain identity to it. And it's not just a facade as well. Behind that facade is a really important identity. And we've taken a lot of time to give that identity to the building, giving it a name, a location, a function, a height, as many of us do, as all of us do, as human beings, of course. And what we did is we've taken this identity and we've placed it into the profile of that building. Every building in BuildingOS has a profile, and this profile can be compared to, like many of us have, a LinkedIn profile or a Facebook profile, but every building in BuildingOS has this BuildingOS profile, and it's the dashboard for every building. And what it does on the left, you can see who that building is, and on the right, how it's feeling. So this is really the beginning of the personality of a building exhibiting itself in an interface inside of BuildingOS. When we look at a building, we have so many different applications. This is our most robust application set, what we can use for a building. These are only 2 of around 20 different applications that we can use for buildings. And the one we're very excited about that took us many months last year was our project measurement and verification. And that's our most comprehensive app. It takes in our rate and tariff engine, our baselining engine, and it helps you, whenever you have an energy conservation measure for a building, figure out what that return on investment is. And rather it being a black box, as many consultants will use, we can turn that data into a real-time view as to how you're spending your energy. So as an owner, you fully trust what's behind the before and the after of that retrofit. On the right, you can see file management, which we were excited about, and the real estate world was excited about, because as you can see right here, one of the tabs of every building is now files. So you can go, just as you can go to the profile, the dashboard of a building, you can go to files. And what that helps to do is, if anybody's a part of the building, construction, or design world, you spend a lot of time building designs into a Revit model, an AutoCAD model, a floor plan model, but then they sit on a server somewhere, and nobody really has access to it. Because the building now has an online profile in the cloud, you can take those and allow them to sit alongside that building forever, to never to be deleted, being in the cloud. So if we look at the building and we tear off the facade as we continue our zoom in inside of the building now, we spent a lot of time taking that building and virtualizing the different parts of it. So we've talked about the physical world and virtualizing it, and this is what we've spent most time in doing. An actual building is now divided into separate floors, and those floors then have spaces, being the different colors. Those spaces can be assigned to different devices and also to different tenants. So we'll look into one of those tenants being the very bottom, and that one tenant, just as a building has an identity of itself, being in tech. A tenant, as we've described it, is really a group of people that live in or inhabit a building. And it can inhabit one building, many spaces within that building, or many different buildings across a campus or across a nation. And what we do is we've taken the same identity and we've placed it into the profile for that tenant. And that tenant dashboard allows you to compare all of the different buildings or all of the different spaces alongside each other. So as hardware devices move in and out, it doesn't really matter, because we show you right here the virtual version of that. So you can just make sense of the data set as opposed to all of the connecting of the dots across hardware devices and the actual tenants. Again, so much work has gone into this. A shout out, the artist is over on the left, Erwin, and our master developer, I think Michael, is somewhere in the back, making everything tenants possible. And we took a lot of time to do that. Paired with your tenant dashboard, we have 2 different applications. Tenant management, allowing you to virtually create tenants and assign those to the meters like I was referring to. And then also tenant comparison. So you can view tenants across your entire portfolio or tenants within one specific building. And then using the comparisons app, as we've always had, you can convert that to different units, whether it be dollars per square foot, all for your tenant. From here, I really want to rewind and zoom back out to see really what we've done from a building perspective. And on the top, you can see we're going to review the core elements of BuildingOS and then the application layer below it. And that application layer is crucial to making these different objects that we have inside of BuildingOS useful to a lot of different people. There's an analogy that Vladi had actually brought up here, which is Windows operating system in the 90s was really nothing before having Excel or having Word. And what we've done is we've taken a data set of buildings and we've paired many, many different applications on top of that data set. So you can take the vast data set across the globe or across the nation and make it actionable to whatever it is your goal is for that building. Throwing the facade back on the building, which everything revolves around for BuildingOS. Again, these are just the 2 different applications. Applications for buildings span from finance teams to energy teams, and then the most important part being the visibility across the tenants, the buildings, and the portfolio. And if we zoom back out, you can see your portfolio of buildings. being yours, and it's up to you to make sense of that data. But to help you make sense of that data, at this point we have over 25 different applications for your portfolio of buildings, which really empower you with your data to make with it as you'd like, and to create a certain story that's important to your set of campuses, departments, corporations, and so on. So that's a lot, and we've gotten a lot done within this past year, and we moved very, very quickly. And we've created this learning and support hub led by Chelsea, somewhere in the room, Bianca, Rachel, Jesus, so many people put time, hundreds and hundreds of lines thrown into here, descriptions about how BuildingOS works and each of the edges of BuildingOS. We also have product updates. So Aaron had mentioned that we do release on a weekly basis, and that's a lot to keep up with, and LBNL had said it's tough to keep up with that. So you can get to this by going to the help button on BuildingOS. So on the left panel, there's a help, and that help will bring this up. Or you can go to learn.buildingos.com to keep up to date with everything that we're rolling out with BuildingOS. There's a lot that has gone on in this past year, and to talk a little bit more about the foundation of that, we have our VP of Design, Gavin. So one more plug, tomorrow on Wednesday we have Learning Labs, and Learning Labs you can learn more about budgeting, you can learn more about tenants and spaces, and that'll be a one-on-one interaction with a product manager, with some of our customer success managers, a few people on our marketing team, so you can learn and dig into the details and use it and ask questions. So thank you guys very much.